Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. It's Sunday right now, so almost at the end of Sunday. It's like 8 o'clock, 8:30, something like that. I'm recording this. So thank you so much for coming in to watch this. We got a couple of things to cover today. So Terawulf, I had to basically correct some numbers for them as I found out just recently within the last couple of days that their Nautilus facility, they don't own 50% of it anymore. They own less than that. They own 25% of it. So I had to redo my numbers here for the full year of basically 2023, try to get things figured out, and we're going to go over all that. And then we also will just take a look at, obviously, where the Bitcoin miners ended up this week compared to Bitcoin. So it should be pretty easy here. We'll go through all this stuff relatively quickly. And as always, you guys know the drill here, not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And I'm invested in following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. So let's take a look at what's going on here really quick with Bitcoin, and then we'll get into the other things as well. So Bitcoin, and I got Wolf here now, but Bitcoin right now has been kind of trending downwards here in the last, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4 days? Well, it's on the fourth day now. So 3 days we've been kind of trending downwards a little bit. RSI has been coming down as well. We're still waiting, obviously, on the spot Bitcoin ETF to happen sometime this week. They're saying maybe by the 10th we'll get some news from the SEC, whether it's going to be a yay or a nay on the ETF. So a lot of people are thinking that it's going to be a yay. So we'll see how Bitcoin reacts to that, how the miners react to that, and we'll have to see how things go. Okay, so that's it for that. Let's take a look at Terawulf, and I'll try to explain this stuff as best as I can here for you guys as well. And Terawulf is right here. So I found out through Twitter, through some conversations, that Terawulf actually only has 25% stake within this last year, basically 2023. I was still going with the 50% that they reported when back in 2021, I think. So I missed it. It was an error on my part. We did discuss a little bit, I think, in previous videos where they have the joint venture and how that impacts the things, and things are a little bit different. But I'm hoping to get this corrected, get it, well, as best as I can for it, because we don't have a lot of information. Excuse me. So let's take a look at what they state here in December here for the numbers, right? We already went over this. I'm not going to go into the numbers, but down below, we'll have some, obviously, points to take a look at here. So the first point is number 1 here, which is being reported up top here, right? So for the key metrics, this is what they have to say about it. And I looked in November numbers as well. It's in there as well. So the company's share of earnings or losses from operations at the Nautilus crypto mine facility is reflected within equity and net income, loss of investee net of tax, okay, in the consolidated statements of operations. Accordingly, operating results of the Nautilus crypto mine facility are now reflected in revenue, cost of revenue, or cost of operation lines in Terawulf's consolidated statements of operations. But so that's the tricky part there, right? Because what they are reporting is basically everything for both the joint venture and their self-mining here. So the Bitcoin self-mined, number 2, they're saying that's a combination of the joint venture there, 334. So that's a little bit misleading, but obviously they have the numbers here that you can go down, which I didn't do. But value per Bitcoin, and then power cost, average operating hash rate, also at 5 exahash here right now for the month of December. So when we look at their investor presentations here, we can see that this is from July. They're providing Nautilus, and then you got number 3 again here, 16,000 miners. This is all approximate numbers with 1.9 exahash, right? So note, the number of miners represented on the chart are approximate figures. Okay, number 3 reflects Terawulf's 25% net interest in Nautilus crypto mine facility. So that's theirs to basically get whatever they mine on that gets on the asset side of things, or under whatever they reported over here, which was, what do they go under? Some weird position. Where is it? Equity and net income, loss of investee net of tax. Okay. So that's where all those for the Nautilus mine get added into it. And I went through basically I tried to go through as many as I could. I spent like 5 hours doing a deep dive on this, trying to figure this all out, because they don't provide it or they don't segregate it out. I would really appreciate it if the companies that do have joint ventures do segregate the information out. I think it's only fair to investors to know what is actually going on without having to go on a hunting spree to figure out what's going on, because they already have the information. It shouldn't be that hard to provide it. Here's what we had for the joint venture. Here's what we have as far as exahash. Here's what we mined for it. Here's our percentage of the joint venture in that. Where is that being reported? But instead of being down all the way at the footnotes, it should be front and center for investors to know, because I think this is a little bit misleading to investors looking at the information that it is right now, right? 334 Bitcoin, you can kind of figure out what was the revenue potentially from that, but that's for everything. That's not going to be included on the revenue side of things in the statements of operations when they do the reporting every quarter, okay? So if we look at the numbers here on my spreadsheet now, let's take a look at Terawulf. Let's go back to this. Here it is. So I went through all this again and updated everything as best I could based on the information that I had for them. So going down here where we track all the miners and everything else, they stated they have about 16,000 miners, about 1.9 exahash for Nautilus facility currently. Based on that, best I could figure out, based on that information, was using these red listed here miners as the Nautilus. And that got us to I'm a little bit higher, 16,420, right? They're saying estimated number there. That's how I could get it to also equal out basically 1.9 exahash. So if we do those, and those, we get 1.902 exahash, okay? So that's basically for the Nautilus mine right there, okay? So that's how we're going to track things going forward. And then when we go into the actual numbers here, I went back through this whole year, tried to figure things out as best I could. But with them not providing actual numbers, it's kind of like a guessing game. So it's the best guess estimate that I could come up with here. But for December here, it looks like we added, let me see, joint venture was about 4.6 million. Based on this information from pulling these miners information out, right? All of these here are getting pulled into that. We do have the total from that, which is what they reported at 300 and something, which is over here. That's kind of what we're using. BTC all, so I made a relabel this category to BTC all, and then we have BTC self, and then we're calculating how much they have for themselves mined on self-mining part of the things. We go back here, that's kind of what we're calculating. So self-mine is now 9.5, almost 9.6 million, I guess you could say. And then their self-mine is estimated at 225 Bitcoin right now. And I did that for all of these where I could figure out what they had as far as the joint venture 1.9 exahash here, going back to basically July. And then after that, it gets a little bit more confusing. Those are a little bit older numbers here, but it's on 1.9 here because they said that in one of their presentations. If we go to those, this one is going back to January of last year. They said expects to begin mining operations in Q1 2023, and their target hash rate at that point was 1.6. And then this one here is from, when is this one from? This one's from March. So this one looks like they were already in March of 1.9 based on this. Q2, oh, now it's Q2 targets, 1.9. So somewhere in there, they were at 1.9, and it's just trying to figure that out. Without actually having actual numbers, it's difficult to figure out. So I tried it as best I could, but for the last 3 quarters, we're still using the actual numbers that they provided us with, which if we look at those are from over here. So we're using those. If you look at that, or actually these numbers, these actual numbers is what we're using for the last 3 quarters, right? 1, 2, and 3. And then the current quarter is an estimate of what we think they might be getting close to. So these are being pulled from their actual reports here. And this is from self-mining only, right? That's numbers that they provided here. That's kind of what we're using there for that. And then they provided as far as what the joint venture revenue was also, so we can kind of track that and see how close we are getting to getting pretty good numbers for them going forward as well. And then as they don't report the cost of revenue for the joint venture and things like that, so we're going to use those numbers because those numbers are going to be for self-mining used as revenue on the side of things, okay? So that's kind of what we're going to base our price targets on, is self-mining revenue, not including the joint venture revenue going forward. I hope this all makes sense. And the reason for that is in a joint venture, I believe it's, and you guys that are accountants and things like that, you guys can probably correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe it's, if it's 50% or more in a joint venture, if you have controlling stake in a joint venture, you can then report the revenue along with the costs associated with it. But if it's below 50%, I believe you can't. You have to put it in as assets, or how they're putting it in there as, let me see if they're putting it in as something else. Let me see, it might be under assets. Let me see here, liabilities. Nope, not in here. What are they? Oh, here it is, equity and net assets of investee. So that's where that's getting put in there right now. And I don't want to do that. Do that, go back down here, and I will make a note on here that that is from, where is it? Where did it go? I just missed it. Equity and net assets. Okay, so this is basically joint venture, BTC mined. Just so we know for future use that this is what this is the case for, okay? You guys will have access to that as well. And then that way, I think we're going to be using a little bit more accurate numbers, because right now, if we update things in the way things look right now, institutions had them at $4. I had them at a much higher number than that. And that was based on because we're using the joint venture numbers included in that as well. So now, with those being gone, we're pretty close to what the institutional investors are looking at as far as price targets, between $4 and $3 on the low. I have them between $4.38 to $3 or $2.92. Looking at the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in. So we're right there with them. And then future estimates, we're looking at $3.02 to $4.53. So again, right within that range. Okay, so I still think that they are currently undervalued here. Just a little bit, by about $1 or so before they start getting to more properly being valued. But obviously with them, it's mainly the concern with investors is the current debt, right? They are going to be paying down $25 million here in the next, in this month as well. They were supposed to be down $14 million in the last quarter, which ended here in December, and then they're adding another $11 million to that in January as well. So that will be good. They'll bring that down to about 80 some million or something like that, which will be good there. And then let me see here. And then as far as their self-mining revenue has also been updated here to what they are self-mining here. And then the BTC sold value, they sell everything that they mine. So I'm guessing they're selling everything from the self-mining and the joint venture. So we're including that in there as well. So you guys can kind of see what they're selling there. So that kind of reflects as far as what the total was combined with the two joint venture and the company itself. And then over here, we're using BTC self-mined estimated, right? We're estimating that they are at 1.9 for joint venture, and the rest is going to be for their self-mining. So this is kind of what we're estimating right now. We'll see how close we can get to those numbers. So a lot of these are a little bit more estimated than what they would normally be if the company actually provided the numbers for us going forward. So one of the things I'm going to push forward this year with the miners, try to get them all on board, and I think Anthony Power is also doing this, is to provide a consistent format as far as what they mined for themselves, joint ventures, any other stuff that they have a part of. I think that would make it a lot better for investors, and obviously for guys like us that also track it and analyze it. So it would be a little bit more consistent, I think. But that's one of the things I'm going to work on this year with the miners, or at least try to get them to do that. We'll see how successful we are. Obviously they may have their own initiatives and their own things that they want to do, and that's fine, but we'll try anyways. Okay, that's it. So this is the most updated one. Sorry, I missed the 25% change from 50% change. And then also, if you guys see anything that's off, let me know. I'm doing 18 different companies here. Some of you guys are a little bit more in tune into a couple of the companies. And I definitely appreciate if you guys could let me know if there's something that in my data is wrong or I'm doing something wrong. I was quite surprised that nobody really noticed it until now. So we got to change. We got to update it. I think we're a lot more accurate now, but it's still a little bit more estimated, but I think it's more accurate as far as the reflection of the revenues compared to what we had before. Okay. So if you guys have any questions, comments down below, obviously I'll talk to you guys there as well. And then I'll talk to the guys on Patreon. Obviously that's going to be available to them tonight. I already basically informed them earlier that this is going to be happening and the reasons why. So we'll talk about it there a little bit more. And I think that's it here. So again, thanks for sticking around. Quick, and we still have one more to go to. We got to look at the weekly. Almost forgot. Okay, let's take a look at the weekly numbers here for the miners. The miners didn't have a really good week this week. Bitcoin did okay. Well, actually, Bitcoin didn't do too well. But no, Bitcoin was actually up. We'll take a look at it. Right now, I'm going off my mind here, off my memory. But here's the chart that we always look at from 52-week lows, which are the green ones. So how far have they gone up in the last 52 weeks? And then from 52-week highs, how far away they are from the 52-week highs here. And we can see here that Bitcoin is up 160% from 52 weeks ago. And we got Hut 8, only 143%, Hive, 113%. So surprisingly, those two miners here that used to be Ethereum miners as well are basically lagging right now, which is kind of surprising. They're both obviously, well, Hut just changed over to being based in the United States, but before they were in Canada, along with Hive here. So that's kind of surprising that those guys have stumbled here as far as performance compared to the other miners here. But the other ones here that have done pretty good as far as being better than Bitcoin, you got BitDeer up 182%, Riot 233%, Terawulf 257%, Argo 280, DigiHost 287, DDMG 312, BitDigital 353, Bitfarms 353 as well, Sphere 3D 358%, Cypher 364%, Iris 395%, CleanSpark 401%, Marathon 474%, Mawson, for some reason, 653%. Core, we obviously know that they're going to be getting out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy this month, and they were down to like 4 cents last year right around this time. So that's why we're seeing the huge gains for Core there. Okay. And then going down to here to our weekly, we can see that Bitcoin was actually up here on the weekend. I tracked Friday to Friday numbers. Bitcoin was up 4.9% for me here. Core was up 11.72%, and DMG was up 14.29%. So those two have done better than Bitcoin, and then pretty much everybody else has done worse. Marathon was only up 2.6%, Mawson 1.2%, and then everybody else was down. Sphere was down 21% here. Terawulf down 19%, BitDeer down 17%, DigiHost down 15%, BitDigital down 15%. So pretty rough week here for the miners last week. Okay, if we look at the 4-week performance here on the charts, we can see that at this point, Bitcoin is only up 5.33%. Best performer was Mawson up 174%, followed by Core 129%. And then we got basically DMG up 72% up, and Sphere 3 84% up as well. And you can see how everybody else is stacked up. Looking at 8 weeks ago, you can see Bitcoin's up 20% from 8 weeks ago. Mawson, for whatever reason, they're up 523% from then. I still think that is just investors looking for beaten down stocks, and that were really low. But there's really nothing fundamentally that should be pumping Mawson right now. It's kind of surprising. Other than that, Argo 212, same thing with them. No real reason. Sphere, same thing. It's like the micro caps are having a rally here. And then we got Core up 175%, Clean Spark 159%. Who else? Marathon up 141% from 8 weeks ago, and then you can see everybody else there. Looking 12 weeks out, we can see that at that point, Bitcoin is up 48%, and Mawson's up 390%. Again, the micro cap Argo, same thing, up quite nicely. Core, DMG as well. Then we got Bitfarms and Clean Spark right around 166% and 160%. And that's Marathon's up 210%. So they had a really good rally here from 12 weeks ago, which is nice to see. And we can see down here on the list that we had quite a few that were in the red, obviously, this past week. And then we had pretty much a red week. So last week we also had kind of a mixed week. Prior to that, we had a nice green week, a red week, or partially red week, a more green week, green week. So we're kind of bouncing back and forth between the green and red right now, as it is. As long as we don't have one of these symptoms here where it's all red, I think we'll be okay. As long as we have some more greens than we do reds, we should be good. Obviously, it all depends on where Bitcoin goes with the spot Bitcoin ETF. If that gets approved this coming week, maybe Monday, Tuesday, that might happen, because tomorrow is actually the 8th, the 9th. So maybe by Wednesday, but the 10th, I think, is when they're saying that might happen. Okay, but that's basically it here. Let me know what you guys thought of all this. Obviously, sorry about the mistake on Terawulf. We got that corrected when we found out. So like I said, if you guys find anything else that I may have a mistake on, please let me know. I do this in my spare times, and I cover a lot of miners, so I can make a mistake from time to time. And I do greatly appreciate you guys pointing some of the mistakes out that I do make. We don't make too many mistakes, and we try to limit the mistakes, but obviously they're going to happen. I'm only human. Okay, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. Spreadsheets are going to be available to my Patreon members there. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. We might get a couple more miners updates here. We're still waiting on a couple miners to provide December updates. And if we look at it here, let's see your miner comparison. Here, I'll show you guys. We're still waiting on, let's see who hasn't provided. Argo hasn't provided anything yet. DMG, I think maybe had a tweet out. I'll have to take a look. And then we're waiting on Mawson. Mawson is usually like the last one provided, like the 2-3 weeks out, which is just a shame there. But yeah, we'll see if we get anything else this week. If we don't, after that, we're going to start doing the metrics on the monthly for all the miners here, see how they did, how they all stacked up against each other. Then we'll get a winner for December as well. Okay, so that is it. Thank you so much for coming in again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then,